the whole conversation about Cara's short stint on Tinder really was a big deal. I hope you weren't. I mean, you were embarrassed.
No way,
by that
not one bit. Nope.
At all.
No.
But there was one comment that said, "Hey, my second wife swiped right on me, except it was on Bumble," and he said hashtag just saying. So there are success stories.
There definitely are. Yeah. Oh yeah. I was, not. It was just that short stint on Tinder, but I was on other dating sites. I was on Zoosk. Zoosk was actually not bad at all. I don't know, that was my experience, but there were a lot of like really nice people on Zoosk, and I did end up meeting someone. We were together for 3 years, so it wasn't completely,
And another comment was, not all sites are as bad as Tinder, and I've been single. Now this one broke my heart, but it's not. But it's okay. First of all, it's okay to be single.
Totally.
But I've been single for over 2 years now. I forgot what it's like to be in a loving relationship. So hey, there's always hope.
There is, and there's also, sometimes when you want it so bad, you can tend to push it away, and so that happens all the time. So you have to find a way to make yourself happy first.
And Jen Ward was great.
Yeah.
Registered dietitian, and one great comment, and I think this will add to some of our thoughts. I would love to see more of this, maybe healthy cooking show and recipes. So maybe that is part of the future, because
that would be fun.
I mean, we're talking about intermittent fasting. We were giving advice on vitamin D deficiency. I mean, obviously, well, she was giving advice. She's the registered dietitian. We can't give advice. Another question that came in: how to keep the romance going? How to get the spark continuing, even with all those kids, and even with everything that goes on all the time. So how do we do it, Car?
Well, I think it's important to make the time. I think sometimes people feel like, oh, we have kids. They feel guilty going out, leaving the kids with a babysitter or whatever, but you can't. That's how you recharge, and you can't be everything to others until you're good yourself. So you have to make that time. It's part of the self-care deal, Date night is a necessity. It is.
Because they say that, don't skip date night, but for real, don't skip. Because we basically get one night, for real, one night once
Saturday
every 2
night,
weeks.
every other weekend. Yeah. Yeah.
We get one night every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And we don't miss that.
Right.
I mean, I think one time I was like, oh, I'm tired, and you're just like, no,
we're going out.
If we have to sit at the bar again at Jay's and have dinner,
which we love,
Jay's at the hotel there on Pittsfield Lenox Road, which is a great place. Bonnie, the bartender,
she's great,
and all the rest, and that is amazing. I get the sushi, you get something else,
stir fry,
and even if but then the other thing is, sometimes you got to mix it up a little bit.
Yeah. Get dressed up, go out, pretend like you're on a first date.
Are you saying role playing? Is that what you're saying? I don't know if this is a family show or not. I don't know, but you got to spice it up a little bit,
Yeah.
So
totally.
Maybe redo. Actually, Cara was listening to the Pina Colada song.
Yeah, well, I asked John. I said, "Have you ever actually listened to the lyrics?" Because we'll play it sometimes, like different songs for the kids. But like when you really listen to the lyrics of that song, it's the wife puts a personal ad in. Do you like pina coladas? Getting caught in the rain. Blah blah blah. Well, the husband ends up reading the personal ad while he's in bed, and he decides to go meet this woman. Well, when he goes to meet the woman, it's his wife. And so then I really thought long and hard about that. Like, okay, he was like going to cheat on her.
Well, that's what I was saying. I was saying, wait a minute. First of all, she puts the ad in, so I think that's kind of cheating, unless he's trying to catch him. But either way, so.
Yeah, but they're kind of both cheating on each other.
But I guess it two negatives cancel out into a positive. I guess in a song.
Before it gets to that point, you gotta
have fun.
Fun.
Recreate the first date.
Yeah.
Or or meet each other as strangers at a bar or something. Yeah. Or something like that. Andrew's like,
Hello.
I didn't say like in the hotel bar, but yeah. With that, we got our dear friend Andrew DeGiacomo. I'm gonna hopefully I say so. And listen, you know, Tinder is a thing.
Yes,
you know,
yes.
Tinder is a thing, and but you know, we had some fun with it. But that's the the funny thing is, talk about human connection. That's kind of the norm today, and I don't know if that's a good thing.
You know, it's hard to meet people out in places of general interest, which is what it was like when I was growing up. Is, you know, you would like a certain kind of music and you'd go someplace, you'd meet people based on your interest. And now it's, you know, it's just so different, and you really don't, it's all marketing.
Yeah.
And it's you know, it just seems very crowded, and it seems very distracting to me. Like and also addicting. I think people have a really hard time putting it down, or, you know, it's sort of become like that thing you just do when there's nothing else to do.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, when I was I was trying to date at one point, and you know, I just felt terrible.
There is no try, right? Is that the Yoda?
But you
Yodaism?
know, I felt really bad when people would write to me, and they would write really nice things, and they looked like wonderful people. You know, I didn't feel anything, but I just couldn't just be like, you know, delete. You know, I felt like I owe something.
Yeah.
Somebody took the time. So it started to become overwhelming emotionally for me.
Yeah.
Because I just, you know, I don't know. There's just a lot of substance to connection, I think. And you know, it's being presented as such a window shopping kind of a thing.
We were at Sideline.
I know,
yeah.
I missed you.
And so how amazing was that? Sideline is tremendous.
Last week we went after we left here.
And you know, it's quote unquote open mic, but I think it's more like a hootenanny.
It's like almost, I see it as like a industry party, because honestly, most of these people are out performing, you know, out in the public for money.
Yeah.
And they're just having a good time. Talk about, you know, bus driver's holiday.
Yeah.
And the other thing is they incorporate a lot of the younger musicians and new talent. And there's just this vibe of just, you know, creativity and embracing of each other and promotion of each other. And, you know, you've got such an eclectic group of musicians there as well. But Sideline is fabulous. That's the last Tuesday of every month at Sideline on Fenn. Rick Roddy is the bartender. He's always gonna do a good job.
He's
and
great.
Elaine Morel is the party thrower.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Elaine is she throws a great party.
Right, and they talked about having us go live there during one of the open mics. I don't know where they would put us.
I know.
But,
We'd have to try to figure that out. Even if we did something beforehand and then maybe came on real quick live and did like a real quick, maybe 15-minute live or something. I don't know, but
Yeah. Now, do you play?
I don't. Not in public.
Really? Well, oh wow. Okay.
I do have a guitar, and I am learning, and, you know, but no, I'm really more of a community appreciator
Okay.
type of person of music.
Well, you
But, know,
certainly do.
yeah. Oh, and open mic. Listen, there's other open mics as well. Of course, that one is the last Tuesday, as I said, of every month. But over at Shire Brew House, of course, in Dalton, they have a fantastic open mic on the third Thursdays as well. And, you know, the other place I really like is people healing people with addictions, people with they're on McKay Street.
Okay.
And it's just, they go out in the park on summer nights on the stage and light up, and people either read poems or they sing. And then there's some of the musicians in our community are involved as well. Chantel usually shows up.
Yeah.
It's
amazing.
And, it's people in recovery. And there's a wonderful woman, I don't remember her last name. Her first name is Julie, and she heads that whole effort. It's a great place. And now they have this home base right on McKay Street.
Yeah.
And it's also a great place to go hang out, have a pizza.
When I think of grandparents are the essential piece to many families making it work. And in fact, many grandparents have become essentially parents in a lot of families, because families look different, and sometimes there's one parent and then sometimes there's no parents and the grandparents take over. So that has been my perspective looking at that. But I have also worked in senior care, and we've had family age, and you have as well. And as a nurse, that's a whole other dynamic of, okay, how do we help care once it becomes the children taking care of the parents? What happens there? It's
a very precarious situation, that many of us find ourselves in, especially as parents, when your attention and you're really needing to, especially with today, to be very involved in your child's life, and then all of a sudden, your parents have additional needs, and sometimes you have one parent, the loss of a parent, and situations come up, and the best thing really to do is to plan. Where we get into a lot of trouble is when we are forced by necessity to think about things that we really should have been thinking about all along.
And so some of those things, I look at it, and I always tell people, go see that attorney and get that trust, first of all, because that's one of the, if mom or dad has to move out of the house, God forbid they have to go to a nursing facility, which is a whole other dynamic. All of a sudden, that asset becomes basically something the state can take over. So that's probably one of the first things. And and there are attorneys out like who's Paula Almgren is one of those. She gets a lot of the referrals for that because she does a tremendous job. But financially is a big piece of that.
And there's other things that come up as well that can separate people, elderly people, from one another. Cognitive issues, different forms of dementia, and it's so heartbreaking because people say to each other, I'll never ever put you in a nursing home, and it gets to that point where sometimes there's just no other option, and it's absolutely heartbreaking. But that's why it's important to have these conversations now and to talk about limitations and barriers to plans that you have. As far as combining families, that's an excellent point. Grandparents have such a greater role today than they ever have.
It used to be, there's grandma, mostly grandma, and grandpa, and they come in for the fun time.
Yeah.
They buy a bunch of stuff for the kids, and then they're out of there.
Yeah.
But and then they get to enjoy their lives. But now, like a lot of families, it's not like that anymore. The grandparents don't get to be just the fun grandparents. They have to be the major caretakers.
And people's retirement doesn't actually turn out to be the way they expected it to be. But that's where we have bigger families now too. As you said, we have blended families, and incorporating seniors into the household has a lot of positive aspects to it. But there's also a lot of things that you really need to be sure that you are comfortable with before you do it. And I've known people that have done it successfully, and I've known people that have done it, and unfortunately it didn't really work out. But only about a third of people actually end up living in a nursing home at some point in their life. But the biggest things that can come up, of course, would be illnesses, and these are all real life things. And you're absolutely right. People drop dead. I know I'm going to get a will. I just because I've had so many people around me that I'm just saying to myself, Jesus. And then you look at what happens to the people who are left, and they're stuck with all of this. Having a plan, knowing where everything is and where it's going is something that it's never too early to start thinking about those things. Healthcare proxies are really, really important things to come up with. Some people don't really understand, especially children or elderly people,
because there's a difference between a proxy and the power of attorney.
Exactly.
Those are two different things.
So your mother is still sitting there in her 80s signing stuff and making her own choices.
Right.
And the fact that you're trying to get information on her as a proxy isn't really a connection. Proxy is to know her wishes, which is the most important thing, and to be able to express them. But I know so many people who just kind of say, well, here's a, so-and-so is my healthcare proxy. But, they never sat down and had that conversation.
Yeah.
Right.
What would you do? It's not just a form. You wouldn't believe people find themselves in these situations. They don't know what to do.
Trish says, just don't take my license away.
Well, I was with my father when he was elderly, and we were really kind of having concerns about the driving, and, there was an accident. He was 91, and he, sort of fell asleep, hit a tree. But, you didn't want to have that conversation with your parents.
Right.
And I just kind of said, well, that's what big government is for, right? They're gonna check with his, they're going to say, at some point they're going to say, what are we doing here, right? They never did. They never did. And here I am trying to be the good guy. So I'm like, you've got to be able to drive, Dad, thinking in the back of my mind, But no, don't look out for the government to take care of you. I'll tell you that right now. They were like, fine, here's your insurance, But
wow.
this is where you really, the driving thing is a big deal. And of course we hear about it in the newspaper all the time about these accidents, and by the way, the person was elderly, and it's a terrible position. Nobody wants to be that person.
Yeah, it really is. And that's hard too, because driving is not, it's an identity thing.
Yeah.
It's also a thing that it takes in our society. It's freedom. It's totally takes away
the freedom. Yeah.
That is a hard part of losing really identity and control.
It's something we all have to be very sensitive about when we're dealing with our families or other people that are elderly. I mean, look, every day they're losing friends. Every something's hurting, this and that. Doctor's appointments end up taking over your social life. It's very, very hard. And the worst thing that somebody really wants to be when they're elderly is an imposition on their family.
Yeah.
And, you have to be very, of course, anybody who's a close family would never feel that they were an imposition, but it's a perception that people have when they're under that cloud. And it's so important to recognize that and to make sure that to do everything you can so that they appreciate. It's all about love and commitment and family. And, sometimes when people get elderly, they, if somebody has dementia, for example, people have a hard time with that. It's not her. It is her. And dementia is, of course, an umbrella term for a lot of cognitive disorders, but it weans and waxes. And I'll tell you, the time that I spent with my mother, the last 3 years of her life, when I think of my mother, I think about those years. We were so close. I remember when my family, we were coming up with a picture for the obituary, and, people put up a picture of their younger years or whatever. I loved the woman who had dementia. I loved having conversations with her, connecting with her. And, there's a great book out there. I don't remember the author. It's called I'm Still Here. And anybody who has a family member with a cognitive disorder, I think it really would help to explain that, your loved one is here still.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is. And it is the toughest thing. It really, truly is.
Yeah. When my grandmother had dementia, she was very different, and sometimes it was funny. We really, it was fun.
The filter
and it was
goes
funny.
away.
Well, the filter was gone.
If you ever, if you
and
ever
she had a filter her whole life.
Yeah.
But so it was.
Yeah. So if you're ever like a young man and you're walking through the dementia unit at, say, Hillcrest Commons or something, you're going to hear some stuff.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Stuff that you wouldn't normally hear from a grandmother, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
But because the filter is down and, but you start to understand, that this is what it is. And, and professionals work with these individuals all the time, and it's so difficult, but that's what it is. But you do a lot of work with senior.
Right now I'm employed at Berkshire Place on South Street.
Oh, okay.
I've been there for almost 2 years. I'm really blessed to be there.
Great space,
It's such a fabulous. I used to work at Albany Med for many years, and kind of messy vascular specialty. But now it's wonderful. I've got 27 people that I take care of, and
Oh, wow.
I do overnights, which is wonderful. People have a hard time overnight. I love being the guy with the popsicle and the
Ah.
I have special ways I wake people up in the morning. I have one woman who I have a rooster that crows,
cute.
and I play it on my phone, and hello, good morning.
That's
People I sing to, and
Yeah.
people who, and it's really, I mean, I even go when I have a day off, I'll be honest with
Yeah.
you. And I just love these people, and it's a great environment. It's a great place to
It
be.
really is. And boy, it is a tough industry in a lot of ways, because even, the CNAs who do so much work, they're not paid well enough, that. And they're like the heart and soul, but then also this whole dynamic of trying to create an atmosphere in a building that's not
culture,
really, that's not
a community,
but that's not, but then it's not their home, but
Right.
you're trying to make it
Right.
that way.
Right.
And having and having people transition at that age,
Right.
anything
is a big deal.
anything.
Any
Right.
change,
Yeah.
Right.
or any problem is like, I mean, we all
Mhm.
know, we all have.
For sure. For sure.
Yeah.
So, it's really important to bring humor to your job.
Mhm.
It's really, I love giving my residents 100% of my attention. And when they have me, they have me.
Mhm.
We'll do anything from, watching TV together. It's very sad. Of course, people pass, and, I'm very involved in the hospice process. And, which is another thing I want to bring up about Hospice of Berkshire County. Oh my gosh, what an incredible organization. And that's another thing that people wait too long for.
Yeah.
Hospice has so many benefits early on. Don't wait. You get to know the staff gets to know the person, and you have conversations. It gets very awkward towards the end when people suddenly are showing up, and but if they were part of the process all along and involved and just came by once a week and said hello, really important.
And
to
it's
get that
true,
involved.
and people don't recognize that there are individuals who quote unquote graduate from hospice and they go back to normal services.
Oh,
so knowing that, once people maybe understand that, then they're more apt to say, yes, let's bring in hospice. Because for a lot of families, they're thinking to themselves, oh, now I'm basically saying
It's
we're
like
done.
the dagger, the cloth and dagger.
Exactly.
Right, exactly.
So, and I think that's one of the major challenges that people in hospice have, is trying to continue to change the way that people understand what exactly hospice is, because it doesn't mean it's over. I mean, there are certain parameters that make it so that it's time for hospice, but it doesn't necessarily mean that your loved one is going to be leaving this realm on the short term. It can people do graduate from it. You decided to move to Pittsfield.
Yes.
From the upstate New York
Well,
area.
actually, just over the border, Columbia County, near Hudson, New York.
So tell me about that decision.
Well, it wasn't. It was kind of a rush decision. My mom and dad were in Boston, and my mom had dementia. My dad was having some trouble being the caregiver. So I had just been driving out to Boston all the time, and eventually my sister, who's from this community here, we decided that they should come live here, both of them. So we brought my parents here. They were both at Kimball Farms. My mom was in the memory unit there, and my dad was independent living, another wonderful place. And I took care of them, and I came here. I really didn't know anybody. This is the thing. When you're taking care of someone who's ill, whether it's a friend or a parent, it's your gig.
Yeah.
And, it can go on for weeks, months, years, in my case, 7 years.
Wow.
You check out, okay, because your job is really to be a caregiver, no matter what your day job is. You lose contact with friends. You sort of back out of your interests. These are the people after, and then the person's gone. And then the caregiver is left with nothing.
Right. It's like a vacuum.
Everything is gone.
Yeah.
These are the people you need to reach out to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, you need to check in on them and
Mhm.
make sure the caregiver is really not looked at. And then the other thing that drove me crazy was that, you know, during the time that I was going through all of this trouble, you know, people would be like, you know, trying to do stuff with you, and you know, and you're like, I can't, you know, I can't really do that. And then you know, they disappear. And then after the person's gone, they all want to help out, but you know, you really
Mm.
you need them when the person's gone.
Mhm.
When you're being a caregiver, you know, I
Yeah.
don't need a lasagna, I don't need anything. Just give me the time to do what I need to do.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But afterwards, check in with these people.
Yeah.
I think that is a tremendous point. And I just think, you know, you look at that, totally when exactly is the time, you know, to check in and support and you know, to, you know, defend people they don't know and they
Right.
don't want to offend. In a lot of ways, even when someone passes away, they don't want to necessarily immediately. The rule of thumb has always been there. Well, if you are helpful, usually all the help comes right after you
Right.
lose somebody.
Right.
But
It's the weeks that
it's the
follow.
weeks that follow.
Exactly.
And we've had this conversation.
Right.
We've had people who have lost people, you know,
Mhm.
in so shocking fashion.
Yeah.
And that is, you know, what we've heard back even from them. Like it's
Mhm.
not, I mean, I'm all set now. I mean, we're mourning, everyone's here, but it's the weeks later, maybe 3 months later, 2 months later. They want to hear from people.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I think.
And they want to be invited and included,
Right.
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know the worst thing to hear would be like, oh, well, we don't want to upset so and so, so we didn't invite him or
Right.
her to
Mhm.
this or that.
Right.
Like,
We all know
Yeah.
about the road to hell, right?
that's right.
And how it's paved.
Yes.
You know, which was one other thing I wanted to bring up, just with the I used to do Meals on Wheels, and you know, there's a lot of times, you know, we have an effort, we want to keep the person in the home, we want to keep them home, and there's this huge emphasis of that. And you know, sometimes that's not the right
Right.
option, is keeping people
It's not
home.
safe.
I would go and, you know, see the person still laying on the couch, you
Mhm.
know, and you know, you really wonder, you know, there's a lot of community, there's a lot of interaction when you're in a different, in a nursing home or assisted living.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people, you know, like me, that really care, and they're gonna pay attention, and they're gonna
Mhm.
make sure you had enough to eat, and
Mhm.
you know, and this is sometimes it really is the best solution.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. I think really, if you just look at that dynamic, especially if, okay, mom or dad is alone, they live in Pittsfield, the kids are in Florida, California, and you don't have that support structure, no one living with them. Maybe Meals on Wheels comes, like you said, but they're not maybe getting out. It's not like
Right.
they're going to the senior center
Mhm.
every day or things like that, because they're just maybe too frail or just
And they're
unable to
probably
do it.
not eating.
Yeah.
They want to go to the store, they
Mhm.
want to go to mass, they
Mhm.
want to you know, see the things that they want to see, and you know, and it's very hard to navigate in today's world. Can you imagine
Mhm.
being in your late 80s or 90s and just not wanting to be a trouble to anybody?
Right. And that's right.
Right.
Exactly. And that mentality. And I think that's a generational thing. I don't know if that will be generations to come, but we know that generation,
Yes.
they don't want to be.
Right. These were the people who never wanted to be a burden.
Right.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
I'm not saying anything about any other generation.
Who knows?
But
we know about
right.
this generation. When you first have kids,
Yes.
you suddenly get pushed out of your friend group.
Mhm.
Like there's a whole
even the
culture.
other friends who have kids.
No. Like if you're the first one to
Oh,
have.
okay.
I assume if you.
Yeah.
Oh, not. Oh, we could have kids.
Right.
You could have. Like, so, but that is a thing. Like if you are, you know,
The first one of the group to be pregnant, like especially for the woman, like it's, for me, it was kind of a weird, I mean, I had a group of friends, they were much younger than me, and I did get pregnant, but I wanted it so bad, it really didn't bother me. Like I was just kind of like, I am so ready for this. I was 32 years old. Like it's all I wanted.
I mean,
And so to give up other things, I really didn't care.
that's right.
Yeah.
That's what it
Because
is.
it's just a whole new head on your
Yeah.
shoulders where it's just things that were important
Yep.
to you are no longer,
Yeah.
you know what's important now.
I really wanted to have my kids younger, but it didn't work out that way. So 32, I was like chomping at the bit.
Mhm.
Like, nope,
Yes.
this is happening.
32.
Yep. So you hear that, ladies? Get out on Tinder and let's make some babies. Sorry, yeah.
And then in one blog piece I was reading, it basically his friend, so a dad had become a dad, and his friend had said, well, I'll see you in 6 years, and he thought he was joking, but he wasn't joking.
No.
He really wasn't. And some of it was, well, we're not going to hang out with you anymore, but the other thing is you really don't get a chance to. It is until a kid is 5 or 6 that you really get some free time.
Yeah. And then it's hard too, because getting the babysitter, if you have parents, the grandparents are like, oh, I'll babysit, that's wonderful. Like I had that, between my parents and my ex-husband's parents and whatever. But some people don't have that. It's hard to find a babysitter and be able to trust.
These are new issues, though,
Yeah.
right? I mean, our
Yeah.
parents didn't have any problem having quality time raising us. You know what I mean? They was like,
Yeah.
go out and play.
Well, yeah.
Right.
Do whatever. Go to your room. You
Yeah.
did whatever they said. There
Yeah.
was no internet. There was
Yeah.
no.
There's no
Right.
date night because, just
Every night is
Every night.
day,
Yeah,
right?
I
mean,
know.
who
We'd be
cares?
outside
Your kid, the little
all
leaded
night.
boy, and
We'd be outside all night long, all night.
right.
I didn't like coming in.
Right.
I wanted to stay out there, play outside, ride my
But they
bike.
weren't, I think the helicopter stuff really didn't start until like when? Like it was like post yuppie, like
Yeah.
90s.
90s.
Early or
Early
mid
It's like
90s.
the world changed. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
Mhm.
didn't just happen over nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've never been happier. I really love Pittsfield. And I came here really honestly a broken man. And it's amazing how life has just the city really saved me, really turned everything around. And I also wanted to mention about the volunteer work and stuff, because I do that too. But we have I volunteer with this group called LitNet of Berkshire County Literature Network, and I'm an English instructor on Thursdays. I have 2 different classes, but they're refugees from Ukraine.
Oh, wow.
And they're hardworking. They have jobs. They're employed. And I have, like I said, 2 different classes that I do. I've been doing that now for about 1.5 years, and it's amazing. I've never taught English or anything, but it's amazing. They give me the books. I just do what they say in the book. I got a couple of people.
Yeah.
They are speaking English fluently. They have gotten promoted in their jobs. I mean, it is the most fulfilling,
That's amazing.
thing.
Yeah.
And it's just, 1 day a week, but there's so much to do.
Yeah.
And I mean, we don't live in a perfect city. We live in the best city.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we've got a lot of work to do. We've got so many good people with great ideas. And I just love being around people like that.
Yeah.
And
Good energy. And you, having been in healthcare for many, many years, I presume, I feel like Western medicine needs to connect more to
absolutely.
The healing arts, Eastern philosophy.
I
all
went
that
to
stuff.
this acupuncture, community acupuncture of Pittsfield on Summer Street, and I just had these muscles, very, very tight muscles.
Mhm.
She didn't even go near it. She put pins on my wrist. I
Mhm.
sat there for half an hour. Gone.
Mm.
Gone.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is amazing. We're all wired like
Yes.
Yes.
marionette puppets. I mean, everything, our
Yeah.
nerves, everything's connected to something else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's so much to it.
Yeah.
But everybody just wants to write out prescriptions for
Well, right.
gabapentin or whatever.
Yeah.
the hell
Oh, I
they're
know
pushing.
that.
I
Yeah.
know. It's awful.
And Trish says your aura, Andy, is beautiful. Well, we have an aura.
Yeah.
And some are, some actually can see the colors of the aura, but the energy that we project is measurable at least 6 feet around us, so it's like it's there. And that is a big part of who we are, and it is a big part of not just healing, but just making the world a better place. But I think, gosh, Western medicine, I mean, this has been a topic that we've talked about a lot, and there's a lot of clinical people who are really moving in that direction. They've either left the profession for it, or they're trying to integrate it back in. It goes from everything from dentistry to nursing to some physicians I've spoken to, and I just think we got some work to do, but I think it can go quickly if people kind of get on board.
I was the studio manager at MTV.
Yeah. So cool.
Well, I went to Emerson in Boston and studied communications and video and stuff. And then I started at MTV in 1988 in the city, and I was 24, and the average age was 27 in the company.
Wow.
So I was there for about 14 years. I stayed at MTV from 1988 until 2002. And I was the studio manager, so I did the Times Square studios with the big windows and the Backstreet Boys, and
so fun.
All of that. Pretty much everything that happened in the 90s in pop culture, came through the studio, on their way to host Saturday Night Live that Saturday, or to be on the David Letterman show up the street or whatever. It was a dream job, basically. Yeah. It was incredible. It was absolutely fabulous. And then 9/11 came, and it was just like, peace out. Get the hell out of here. Yeah. And that's when I made my way up to Columbia County. Yeah. And decided to be a nurse.
Yeah. So you were through that whole time, like The Real World?
Oh yeah.
Hanging out with Kurt Loder.
Oh, I love Kurt Loder. Yeah, totally. He's an awesome guy. Yeah, parties at his house. But it was, I don't want to, it was a dream job.
No, that's amazing.
Unfreaking believable. And to run the studio,
it's tremendous.
Yeah.
So I know that you're interested maybe helping some other people too. So,
I love helping people.
We talked about this. We have our studio here, and helping people, because this is we all have a story to tell, right? And
it's important to get it out there, no matter what.
Yeah. And so people it's not hard to do a podcast. But sometimes people need a little support there to get it going. And so those are the kinds of things. I love that. So
I'm good with the push broom after everybody leaves.
Let's do it. I love it. So Andrew DeGiacomo. Yes, sir. Got it.
Thanks again. Thanks so much. It's been so much fun getting to know you and over the campaign, etc., in the summer and everything. And your friends and family also. It always made me feel very comfortable, very welcomed at home. I really appreciate it, and I appreciate the invite.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
You're a great man, Andrew. So we'll definitely be seeing you soon.
Awesome.
That's me at Sideline soon.
Yeah, that's right. Bring the guitar.
Bring the guitar. We'll see you soon.